Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a fine afternoon, a very warm welcome indeed to the Juvenile Sports Centre, the home of Sandwell Cycle Speedway Club. Indeed, it is a very great honour this afternoon to present, on behalf of the Cycle Speedway Council, the 1987 Andor British Team Finals. And coming on to the centre green to be introduced to the two teams in this junior final this afternoon is the representative for our Andor sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Ken Fraser, the director of Andor Jewels, in accompaniment with Mr. Harry Glover, the acting chairman of the Cycle Speedway Council, and his assistant, Mr. Eric Harvey. Ladies and gentlemen, Andor Jewels, please raise your hands together for our two great sponsors this afternoon. Well, before the presentation to the riders, indeed the presentation is going on to the riders, each of them in turn being presented to the official party. All these riders under the age of 18 years, but many of them already experienced the excitement of a British team final. Since the two teams that are appearing this afternoon ported out to the nail in the 1986 final, when the victors on that particular occasion were Poole, who won by 90 points to 87 against Wednesfield. And we've got a repetition today, and I sincerely hope that we have such an exciting and close match as was evident last year. I see a nice presentation by the Poole manager, by the Wednesfield manager, Mr. Paul Bodley, to Ken Fraser, in recognition of his team and club's appearance in this British final. Very nice gesture. Poole, of course, are 5 times winners of the British Andor Junior Team Championship, aiming to make it a 6th occasion this afternoon. Wednesfield have previously appeared in 2 junior finals, losing each time, or maybe this time Wednesfield it will be 3rd time lucky. In fact, the lineup this afternoon for Wednesfield sees a few changes from last year's junior team. So they've certainly got plenty to avenge themselves for this afternoon. This afternoon, the number 1, Giving Nothing. That's number 2, Scott Woodward. Number 3, Nick Curry. At number 4, A.D. Melville. Number 5, Scott Ward. Number 6, Andy Palmer. Number 7, Steve Kibble. And number 8, Lee Barker. And the ball, at number 1, Adam Bartley. I can hear the ball division, they're very different this afternoon. Hopefully it's only that in evidence during the meeting. At number 2, Len Cumberland. And the change in your team at number 3, replacing Simon Merrick, will be Mark Bale. Mark Bale comes in at number 3, spelled B-A-I-L-E, that's Mark Bale at number 3. At number 4, Andy Reid. That's number 4. Number 5, John Weston. At number 6, Darren Tarr. Number 7, Lee Hayter. And the completing the lineup, number 8, Lee Pettis. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is the riders. Soon we shall have the waiting. Your referee for this first meeting from Manchester, Mr. Dave Livingston. Your starting marshal will be Mr. Brian Buck and the fifth marshal, Mr. Ken Taylor.
Well, would you believe it's another Poole versus Wednesfield final, this time at junior level. And this decade, these two clubs have met on numerous occasions. And there's a shot of where the main bulk of the Poole contingent are this afternoon. And in the foreground, Roger Nicholson. There's a shot of skipper Darren Tarr. And Adam Bardsley just about to come into the picture. Well, let's give out the riders now for this opening race. And Wednesfield have won the toss for the grid positions and have let take 1 and 3. And on the inside it's Kevin Nussing, and he's partnered by his team partner Scott Woodward. Whilst the Poole riders on grid 2, Liam Comben, and on the outside grid, fast, high-flying Adam Bardsley.
Ready? The starter's ordered.
Oh, there looks to be a bit of movement there.
The call for Leon and wait one with all 4 riders. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, come out for complete song for the riders on the grid. It's a very tense moment. The first race, the rider really keyed up now. So referee excludes the rider on grid 4. Not grid 1 or 4, that's correct.
Yes, as the rider on grid 3 looks up, there is a noise indeed in the pits. The sophisticated communication system here at Sandwell as the pit phone rings. You'll have to be careful that that doesn't disturb the riders whilst under starters orders from now on. But anyway, here we go then, the rerun of heat number 1. And that's a quick start from Adam Bardsley around the outside. Is he going to make it all the way round? Kevin Nussing, meanwhile, holding on to that first bend advantage, and Adam Bardsley hot on his heels, and he's followed by his team partner now, Leon Comben, and bringing up the rear, Scott Woodward. And Scott Woodward there, making a bit of ground, almost coming under Leon there, and not quite making it though. It's a very tight circuit this, and now meanwhile at the other end, it's Adam Bardsley coming through this time, and he's come through nicely there on Kevin Nussing, and also brought his team partner through, Liam Comben. So that's a good bit of work from Adam Bardsley. Well done, Adam. That's a 5-1 heat advantage in the opening race to Poole, Sherry and Haycock.
First up going to the Poole team with a 5-1 there from Adam Bardsley in a time of 41.27 seconds. 41.27 seconds. In second place, coming through nicely with the help of his teammates. In second place was Liam Comben. Third for Wednesfield, I believe, the rest of the race was Kevin Nussing. And in fourth position was Scott Woodward. We hosting this 1987 Underall British Junior Team Championship with a 7-3 evening to Poole.
Well, riders for Heat 2, and indeed there is a change. Replacing Mark Vale will be the number 8 rider, Lee Pettit, for Poole, and he lines up on grid 1, and he's partnered by Andy Reid on grid 3, and the Wednesfield duo, Nick Perry on grid 2, and Adi Melbourne on the outside. Another quick start from grid 4, and Wednesfield look to have this one on for a 7-3, but it's been stopped Just when things look to be going well for Wednesfield there. Lee Pettit was forced right up on the centre green. And Dave Pinson's not going to have any of that. Referee here this afternoon. What's he doing? Picking a bit of loose shale off the track, is he? Colin Sutton, team manager here this afternoon for Poole, having a word with both his riders. I expect he'll be telling them to push all the way into that first bend. And the Wednesfield boys are back up to the tapes. They're anxious to get on with this. And Haley Melbourne goes across to his partner Nick Perry, and no doubt tells him to do exactly the same thing. That was two very quick gates from both those riders. And of course, Eddie Melbourne, if you can remember, last year at Bristol St George, he became the under-15 schoolboy national champion. And riders, when they get that title behind them, usually develop quite quickly into mature riders. And he certainly looks to have a fast gait in that one, did Eddie Melbourne. So here we go then, the rerun of heat number 2. And again, the two Wednesfield riders make it at the start, and this time it's the Poole rider, Liam Comben, coming up the inside, but he's only forced his partner into the fence, and the two Wednesfield boys are now got yards ahead of them, yards to spare, and they can just take it easy. Eddie Melbourne with yet another fast start is way out in front. Nick Perry, his partner, right hot on his heels, and quite a way back now is Lee Pettit. And of course the rider who fell there, Andy Reid, has picked himself up and is somewhere around the track and going to establish himself as getting just 1 point. So a 7-3, and Wednesfield hit right back.
Wednesfield with Eddie Melbourne in a time of 40.92 seconds. 40.92. In second place was teammate Nick Perry. Third for Poole was Lee Pettit, and in fourth position Andy Reid. 3 points to Poole, 10 points to Wednesfield, 2 rides down in this 1987 British and Royal Junior Team final. 10 points to Poole, 10 points to Wednesfield. The line-up now for race 3. For Poole, John Weston and Darren Tom, and for Wednesfield, Scott Ward and Andy Palmer.
Well, it's Wednesfield's turn for the inside, with Andy Palmer on the inside with his partner Scott Ward. Darren Tarr on 2 and John Weston on the outside, who makes a flying start there and is trying to come right round Andy Palmer. But Andy Palmer, an experienced international rider, in fact, has ridden for England on many occasions now. He is now leading the pack with Darren Tarr in hot pursuit. And it's the other Wednesfield rider, Scott Ward, lying in third place at the moment, but he's being challenged hard now by John Weston. And John Weston's efforts come to nothing there as he comes to grief almost, but gets back on his machine and is going to get that 1 point. Meanwhile, what is Darren Tarr doing? He's not making much ground on Andy Palmer. He obviously quite used to the track here is Andy Palmer, and he crosses the line with no trouble winning that race. Darren Tarr second then, and Scott Ward for Wednesfield third, and John Weston bringing up the rear. So that 6-4 heat advantage now pushes Wednesfield in front by just 2 points. 16 points to Wednesfield, 14 to Poole. And now Paul Bodley comes into his own. He'll be having a chat with his riders. He's got this got these few points advantage now, and he'll be telling the riders exactly what to do to maintain that lead and in fact build upon it. So let's have a look at the riders in for heat 4. And Paul's turn to have the insides, and Adam Barsley slots into grid 1, and he's partnered by with Lee Hayter. On grid 2 it's Kevin Nussing, and on the outside Steve Kibble. I've not seen either of these two Wednesfield riders before in action, and certainly the lad on the outside, Steve Kibble, looks to have quite a bit of weight about him. Let's see if he can disperse it in the right place and at the right time in this heat. Well, he hasn't made the start. It's the Poole rider from the inside who is making the running, and it's Adam Barsley looking for his second win here this afternoon. And all sorts of things going on behind as Steve Kibble comes to grief, clipping the back wheel of Adam's partner Lee Hayter. So it's 6-4 on for Poole in this race, and it doesn't look like second place man Kevin Nothing is going to catch Adam Barsley. And the riders spacing themselves out now. It's Adam Barsley in front, Kevin Nothing in second place, and Lee Hayter in third. And that's a 6-4. Poole hit back with a 6-4. And that brings the scores level now at 20 points to each team. And lining up in heat 5, we have on the inside grid Scott Woodward for Wednesfield. He's partnered by Lee Barker, the number 8 rider. For Poole, on grid 2, it's Liam Comben, and on the outside, Lee Pettit. And in fact, I'll just tell you that last time of 39.97 in heat 4 is the fastest so far this afternoon. Oh, and a number of riders there catching their heads on the tapes, and they'll surely be rerun with all 4 riders. Two wins for Adam Barsley so far, and he'll be obviously trying to promote those wins to his other colleagues. And now as we have the rerun of this race, and it's right round the outside for young Lee Pettit. He's gone right round the boards and is way out in front now. And meanwhile, what's happening behind him in second place? It's the number 8 rider for Wednesfield, Lee Barker. He's just lost out to a good bit of riding there from Liam Comben. He's come through now and is partnering Lee Pettit up in front. So 7-3 on here for Poole. This will be an excellent result for them. They were off the outside grids, and to get a 7-3 here at Sandwell against Wednesfield is an extra bonus. And that puts their scores now on to 27 points to 23. So Poole now move into a 4-point lead, and they have some good bit of riding there from Lee Pettit and Liam Comben. And Pete Barnes now pointing the finger at Darren Tarr. What's he going to do in this race? And obviously anxiety now in the Wednesfield camp. They've, after having a lead, have slipped back a little bit, 4 points in arrears. Mick Pedley there with Paul Bodley. Those two will be having a lot to say with the way things are going to go for those Wednesfield riders. So meanwhile, let's have a look for heat number 6, and indeed it's Darren Tarr lining up on the inside grid. On grid 2, next door to him, Nick Perry. On grid 3, Darren's partner for Poole, John Weston, and on the outside, the fast starting Aidy Melbourne, who's taken that outside grid once again, and he certainly looks sharp in his opening race. Let's see if he can do anything against young Darren Tarr, the Poole skipper. Oh, and Darren Tarr did have a slow start there, and in fact did well to push out that Wednesfield rider Nick Perry there. And Nick Perry's, Mumbo Jumbo on that top bend, and Aidy Melbourne's come right back through from last now into second place in pursuit of Darren Tarr, who at the moment's got about 3 bike lengths on him, but Aidy Melbourne gaining all the time. And, Nick Perry in third place, way ahead of John Weston, who doesn't seem to like this track. Let's have a look at how things are going up front, and Darren Tarr slips a little bit there, and Aidy Melbourne's famous dive up the inside isn't going to work on this track. Good win that for Darren Tarr. Unlucky attempt there from Aidy Melbourne. So a 5-all, and the progressive totals now. Poole 32, Wednesfield 28. And Darren's winning time there in that heat, 40.56 seconds. And that is the second fastest time of the afternoon so far. And I'm sure the Poole crowd are quite pleased with the way things are going so far. That's a 4-point advantage maintained, and as we come up to heat number 7, there's 2 riders unbeaten here. Adam Barsley, who lines up on the outside grid for Poole, and Andy Palmer, another unbeaten rider for Wednesfield. He's lining up on the inside grid, partnered by Scott Ward on grid 3, and Adam's partner Liam Comben on grid 2. Oh, and what happened to the rider on grid 2? That's surely rerun, indeed it is. And Leon Comben will probably be lucky not to be excluded for that, because he did move sideways. And of course, as we all remember, that's what happened to Poole in the 1985 Senior Team Championship. But meanwhile, this looks to be a slow start for this rerun. But nevertheless, it is Andy Palmer out in front again. He's unbeaten. So is Adam Barsley at the moment. So these two riders on maximum points so far will be battling it out with one another. And Andy Palmer at the moment seems to have the track craft and knowledge. Although there's a bit of leg trailing there, spot of leg trailing, and Adam Barsley keeping out of his line of vision, which is always awkward for riders, and had a chance there to go up the inside of Andy Palmer, and he's still hot on his heels. There's Adam Barsley, and it's going to be a tight finish, but Andy Palmer winning it from Adam Barsley, Leon Comben in third, and Scott Ward in last place. So a 5-all, and the progressive total is still those 4 points in it. Poole 37, Wednesfield 33. And Poole are making a reserve change in this race. Race number 8, Colin Sutton has elected to bring out Lee Pettit in place of Mark Vale. And they line up as follows. In fact, it's the replacement rider Lee Pettit lining up on the inside. Andy Reid is partner on 3. On 2, Kevin Nutting for Wednesfield, and he's partnered by Scott Woodward on the outside.
Ready? Starters on.
Well, Lee Pettit's made the start from the inside grid, and his partner's doing quite well also. Andy Reid is holding back the challenge of Scott Woodward, who attempts a dive up that famous third bend and doesn't come past Andy Reid there. So 6-4 on here for Poole, and as I say that, it's a good bit of riding there from Kevin Nutting. He's found a way past Lee Pettit up the inside. Certainly a good bit of riding that by Kevin Nutting. I'm sure Paul Baldley will be very pleased with that pass of his, and he's reduced what could have been a 6-4 for Poole into a 5-all now. And so Kevin Nutting winning it, second place Lee Pettit, third place Andy Reid, and Scott Woodward bringing up the rear. The winner's time of that heat, 40.95 seconds. As Dave Lunston blows his whistle for heat number 9, so still those 4 points in it. 42 to Poole, 38 to Wednesfield, and the riders for heat number 9. On the inside grid, it's Nick Perry. Next door to him, Poole rider Lee Hayter. On grid 3, Steve Kibble, the reserve rider, and on the outside, John Weston.
The starters on.
Well, it's Nick Perry on the inside grid who's made the running in this race, and he chops hard across on the heels of Lee Hayter there, and Steve Kibble, meanwhile, almost poised to take a line up the inside of Lee Hayter, but he's got to keep John Weston at bay. I don't know what's going on at the back there. Those two riders having a battle royal at the back, and they've just won that remaining now. It's Nick Perry quite a way out in front of Lee Hayter, and as I say that, there's all sorts of things going on at the back, and my goodness me, Steve Kibble hit the fence dramatically and almost went right over with his bike machine, and John Weston has been excluded for that, rather taking Steve Kibble on a wide line. So a 6-3 heats advantage there to Wednesfield, who come back into it now with just 1 point in it, and it's the interval, and 45 to Poole, 44 to Wednesfield. So the race after the interval, heat 10, Darren Tarr for Poole, the skipper lining up on the inside grid. Lee Pettit, his partner on 3, on 2, Eddie Melbourne, the fast starting Eddie Melbourne, and Lee Barker on the outside. And surely that'll be rerun. Lee Pettit catching his head on the tapes. Well, Wednesfield rider there, Eddie Melbourne, who was beaten by Darren Tarr when these two last met in the last race. and he's going to have a go at gating him, I suspect, taking his grid 2 position. Of course, AD famous for his grid 4s. He's had a couple of grid 4s so far. And again, those tapes catching grid 3 rider Lee Pettit. Again, the race has stopped and it'll be rerun. So I don't know what they're going to have to do with these tapes. They'll have to tighten them up or something.
Time is ready.
Well, let's see if we can get away this time
Starters ordered.
for Heat 10. Oh, and this time AD Melbourne has made a good start, but Darren Tarr did well to hold him off and has almost brought through Lee Pettit, has he? Oh, and that looked like a leg, surely, referee. In fact, the race has been stopped. And although the Poole rider did look as though he went on the inside green, on the inside concrete, should I say, up on that top bend, I think the referee, yes, he has. He's excluded AD Melbourne for the illegal use of the leg. So 3 riders only in the rerun of heat number 10. And Colin Sutton having stern words with Darren Tarr. I don't think he's aware that the referee has excluded AD Melbourne. And he's telling young Darren to make sure he gets his elbow in first before AD Melbourne does in that bend. And to keep pushing on into the bend. Pete Barnes now coming in to have a word with the other rider. The Poole rider, of course, Lee Pettit. And as you can see, the tactics coming through Colin. Colin, a famous rider with Poole. Poole skipper for a number of years, from 75 to about 82. And a fair rider himself. And of course, Colin Sutton has also team managed England in the British Lions out in Australia. So a very experienced man to have in any team. Of course, he's also got Poole treasurer Pete Barnes there just to boost the confidence of the riders. And number 8 rider there, Lee Pettit, has a drink and out he comes again to do battle. And as I said, there's only 3 riders, AD Melbourne being excluded, so if the Poole riders keep their heads about them and wits about them in this one, it should be a formality and a 7-2 heat win. And really the Poole rider on the outside for Wednesfield, Lee Barker, has got an almighty task ahead of him here. And already, as I say that, Lee Pettit lost his pedals coming down that back straight and has made things a little bit more interesting because that has reduced the gap now between Lee Barker and Darren Tarr, although Darren beginning to pull away a little bit now. So this will be 7-2 to Poole. I count some very useful points indeed for them as Heat 10 looks like it's going to draw to a close. Indeed it has. And it's 7-2 heat win. So the scores now, that's the interesting thing. Poole on 52 points, 6 points ahead of Wednesfield on 46. And the riders for heat 11 then. Wednesfield have got to do something now. They're beginning to fall by the wayside a little bit, and they're on the inside grids this time. And Andy Palmer, who's elected to take the inside grid, this is a bit of waste. Really, he should have gone perhaps on 3, a bit of a surprise because his partner Scott Ward has gone on 3. Meanwhile on 2 for Poole, Andy Reid, and a change, Lee Hayter comes in for Mark Vale, and he lines up on the outside grid. So once again, Andy Palmer on the inside, Andy Reid on 2, Scott Ward on 3, and Lee Hayter on 4. Not surprising really, Andy Palmer's made the start, so making it look so easy. But the Poole rider, Lee Hayter, has come storming round the outside at the grid and is now taking up a challenge on Andy Palmer. But passing is not at a premium on this circuit, and really Lee Hayter has got a lot of homework to do if he's going to pass England international Andy Palmer. And at the back there's a little bit of a fight going on, a scrap going on, as Andy Reid has to chop hard across on Scott Ward. to maintain his third place, and Scott Ward is still closing the gap on him, and it's going to be now or never on that third bend, and he hasn't done it. So another 5-all, or rather a 5-all, and that brings the progressive totals: Poole 57, Wednesfield 51, so 6 points in it. And once again, Wednesfield have really got to do something now, but they're up against this strong riding of Adam Barsley, who's only dropped a point this afternoon to Andy Palmer so far, and he lines up on the inside grid, and his partner Liam Comben on grid 3, Nick Perry for Wednesfield on 2, and Adi Melbourne, one of the two Wednesfield riders who seem to be catching the eye and coming from the back this afternoon, and looking sharp. Adi Melbourne again taking his favourite outside grid.
The starters order.
Well, and Adi Melbourne, a bit of elbowing, but gets round Liam Comben and takes up the challenge as Liam Comben tries to come underneath Nick Perry, but Adam Barsley now head in front, and he's aware that Adi Melbourne is right bang on his heels. And Adam Barsley has got the speed about him. Adi Melbourne's going to have to really pull out all the stops if he's going to pass Adam in this race. And now Adam is beginning to pull away from Adi Melbourne, and Adi is content to sit for second. Meanwhile, Nick Perry coming hard across on Liam Comben, and is he going to hold it off? Hold the challenge of Liam Comben? That's an exciting finish to third and fourth. Liam Comben falls, in fact, in the effort to try and pass Nick Perry, so another drawn heat.
Result of race 12 is the win for Adam Barsley, and it's winning time of 14.33 seconds, 14.33. Second for Wednesfield is Adi Melbourne. And to work extremely hard to hold on to third place was Nick Perry, and then Comben finishing Andrew Stumble in fourth position. Again, the points are shared 5 each. Poole on 62 points, Wednesfield 56. The winning time again was 40.33 seconds.
Well, is heat 13 going to be unlucky for somebody? On the inside grid, it is Scott Woodward, partnered by Kevin Nutting on 3. Darren Tarr for Poole on 2, and his partner John Weston on the outside grid.
And the starters order.
Well, and Scott Woodward's been gated round by Darren Tarr there, and that mistake by Scott Woodward has allowed John Weston to come up through as well now. And down falls Kevin Nutting, and Scott Woodward now takes up the challenge of John Weston, and he falls very hard indeed there in that pursuit of John Weston, and the race hasn't been stopped, but he really does look in some pain, does Scott Woodward, and he's holding his, he's got his face covered by his hands, and I'm sure he also hurt his wrist and arm as he almost put them in his back wheel there. I must say the race continues whilst the rider is lying on the track, and he's certainly not going to get up in any great hurry, but Darren Tarr wins that race from John Weston. And in third, picking himself up, Kevin Nutting. So a 7-2 heat win to Poole. I'm afraid the result stands at that, and that's 69 points now to Poole, and they extend their lead to Wednesfield's 58, 11 points now in it. But meanwhile, all the attention being focused upon Scott Woodward's injuries there on the second bend, and St John Ambulance Brigade have rushed across, and things don't look too good at all there. Riders now for heat 14, having had a considerable gap. We have on the inside grid Andy Reid, Lee Hayter as partner on 3, Scott Ward on 2, and Lee Barker on 4 for Wednesfield.
And the starters order.
Well, it's Andy Reid who's made a very quick start from the inside, but unfortunately for him, Lee Hayter has not been able to hold the rider on the outside grid, Lee Barker, who seems to have swept underneath him there. But having said that, young Lee Hayter almost comes back and is fighting hard all the way, and in fact now in third place. And Scott Ward now finding himself back, meanwhile Lee Barker in second place. And overexposed the camera, Oh, Lee Hayter coming right the way round as it looked like he probably legged Scott Ward off of his bike then, and in fact he did. He's been excluded. And the result stood because it happened on the last lap, so that infringement by Lee Hayter, who was giving his due. He was trying to get round the outside, had to put his foot down, but unfortunately his leg came into contact with Scott Ward's front wheel, bringing him down. So that was a 5-4 heat advantage to Wednesfield, and do now claw back 1 point and are now 10 points in arrears. 73 to Poole, 63 to Wednesfield, and the riders for heat 15. And in this race, young Mark Vale is coming out on the outside grid. Lee Pettit lines up on grid 2, his partner. Andy Palmer, meanwhile, has shifted on to the grid 3 position, and obviously he'll be looking for a quick start around Lee Pettit. On the inside, it's the big lad from Wednesfield, the reserve rider, Steve Kibble. Oh, and that looks a very fast start indeed from Andy Palmer, and he swept right out in front, but unfortunately for him, it's been rerun. Well, let's have another go at heat number 15 then. And Lee Pettit will have to get an almighty big gate if he's going to hold Andy Palmer, I fear, in this race. Remember, Poole 10 points up now with just 4 races to go. Seem to have things sewn up pretty well, although we mustn't say things like that, because look what happened 2 years ago when the Poole senior team, who were a similar lead in front of Thurrock, and in the end lost by a couple of points. So we mustn't be complacent here at Sandwell, where the racing is very, very close. And again, Andy Palmer looks to have a very good start, and this time he's got his partner with him, Steve Kibble. So Lee Pettit there, finding himself in all sorts of trouble. Meanwhile, Steve Kibble makes sure that Mark Vale doesn't create any problems, and just keeping him at bay on his outside there. And meanwhile, with the speed that Andy Palmer is going and finding himself in all sorts of trouble, he's trying to allow, yes he is, Andy Palmer has allowed Steve Kibble to go around the outside, so this looks a safe bet for a 7-3 heat win to Wednesfield, with Mark Vale now in his first full season of racing. He's got an awful job on his hands to try and pass Andy Palmer, and he doesn't do it. So a 7-3 heat advantage to Wednesfield, and they come back into it now. 70 points to them, 76 to Poole. So with just 3 races remaining. Let's have a look at the lineup then for heat 16. And riding for Poole on the inside grid, it's John Weston. On grid 2, next door to him, Kevin Nussing from Wednesfield. Grid 3, Liam Comben, Poole's partner. Poole's partner to John Weston. And on the outside grid, it's outside grid specialist for Wednesfield, young Adi Melbourne. John Weston looks to have a good start from the inside grid, but Adi Melbourne meanwhile has come right on the outside, and Weston's still leading this race. Oh, and he slides his bike right the way down there and has allowed the 2 Wednesfield boys to pop out in front of him, and this is the way things are going now. Another 7-3 to Wednesfield this. Adi Melbourne now out in front. He's partnered by Kevin Nussing, who's had a reasonable afternoon's racing as far as he's concerned. Bringing his tally on to 14 points for Kevin Nussing, and Adi Melbourne on the same score. But it's John Weston who fell earlier, has picked himself up for the 2 points for Poole, and Liam Comben bringing up the rear. So a good 7-3 heat win to Wednesfield there, just bringing them within 2 points now, Poole.
Result of race 16, a win for Kevin Nussing just on the line there from teammate Adi Melbourne. That's 10 points to the back for Wednesfield. Third place for Poole was John Weston, and in fourth place then Comben. The winning time for race 16 was 42.54 seconds. 42.54. So, another 7-3 to Westfield, and really the whole game has been turned upside down since that fall and that injury to Scott Woodward, way back in heat 13. So, the scores with 2 races remaining. It's Poole on 79 points, Wednesfield 77. 2 points in each, 2 races remaining. Race 17 about to start with the pairing. All according to Poole programs for Poole, it's Adam Bartley and Andy Reid. For Wednesfield, Nick Perry and Andy Palmer.
Well, this is certainly a big race now, and a pressure race for Poole, because having had that massive lead, the two riders finding themselves on grid 2 and 4. In fact, Adam Bartley on 2, Andy Reid on 4, against Nick Perry for Wednesfield on grid 1, and Andy Palmer on 3. And he hasn't put a foot wrong or a wheel wrong all afternoon, as Andy Palmer, and again makes a super start and has gone right round the outside of Poole rider Adam Bartley, and that certainly took Adam by surprise, but he's allowed his partner Andy Reid around the outside of him to stabilise this heat into a 5-all. And Nick Perry there, he'll be anxious to get past. He's got to try and find a way past Adam Bartley. Sitting there in 4th place isn't any good for Wednesfield, because they're on the outside grids in the next race, the last race, but it's Andy Palmer out in front. And now Adam Bartley shielding Andy Reid from any possible overtaking that the other rider at the back, Nick Perry, is going to do, but he's not done it. And that's 5-all. There's certainly a bonus for Poole in these closing stages. Poole now 2 points in front, 84 points to Poole, 82 to Wednesfield, 1 race to go. So what a finish then to the 1987 British Junior Team Final, once again at Sandwell. They seem to produce matches that go right to the end. You never know who's going to win, and certainly this is the case here as Darren Tarr lines up. And what a fairy tale this is for him, because he'll be following in his father's footsteps if he can win this last race, because his father, of course, Dave Tarr, a very famous rider with Tatton Tigers when they won the senior British Team Championship, the first time it was ever staged back in 1950. So certainly his father will be wishing him all the best of luck and rooting him on in this final heat. And as Dave Blinson has got the whistle in his mouth, is he going to blow it? Come on. Yep, there it goes. So very much a pressure final heat here, and Darren Tarr comes out with his machine with Lee Hayter, who comes in place of Mark Vale this time for Poole. They have made this change a couple of times this afternoon, and they're doing it again in this last one. Darren Tarr lining up on the inside grid then, Lee Hayter on grid 3. On grid 2 it's Scott Ward, and on the outside Steve Kibble, and with Wednesfield 2 points in arrears, they'll be looking for at least a 6-4 heat advantage, and of course that will only give them a draw. They really need a 7-3 for victory, and I'm sure that young Darren Tarr, the Poole skipper on the inside grid, is not going to let them get anything like that. So he's going to go for the win, because it won't matter what Lee Hayter does. On grid 3 he can be excluded if he likes, because a win will secure victory here for Poole. So here we go then. Heat 18, and Darren Tarr's made a very quick start, and around he goes, and meanwhile, I think that's going to be rerun. Indeed it is. Steve Kibble forced very wide there once again on the bend, and all 4 have been drawn back to the restart. Colin Sutton anxious to make sure that things don't slip away from them like they have done 2 years ago, and I'm sure the experience of that event will consolidate Poole's victory this time. And of course there's Paul Bodley. He'll be rooting his lads on like mad. I don't know what he's got up his sleeve, but he knows that they've got to get a 7-3 or a 6-4 at least. Let's see what happens, and let's see if Darren Tarr can make another quick start in heat number 18, the final race. What an afternoon's racing it's been. A glorious day. The sun has been out. It's been wonderful. The only little accident that has marred proceedings, of course, to the Wednesfield rider, Scott Woodward, who was injured in a nasty fall in heat 13, and we have reports that from the hospital that no damage has been done to his ribs as first feared, and they have only been bruised, so there was no facial injuries to him, and no shoulder injuries and no hand injuries, so it was just bruising to the ribs for Scott Wilbur. But meanwhile, let's get back to Heat 18, the business, and of course all eyes will be focused on Darren Tarr, and from the Wednesfield camp, these two riders on the outside, big Steve Kibble, the number 7 reserve, and Scott Ward, who's done a little bit of work this afternoon to get a couple of hard-earned points from the back for Wednesfield. So let's see if they can do it this time against the Poole pairing. But once again, it looks like Darren Tarr's made the start as Scott Ward looks right as he comes out of the start. Steve Kibble, meanwhile, has found a gap up the inside, so it's now up to young Scott Ward to chase Darren Tarr hard, who's got quite a few bike lengths now out in front. Scott Ward, though, he's been shouted at by his team manager to get up on Darren Tarr's heels. He's got to pass him. If the result stays as it is, it'll be Poole victory, and I can't really see that it's going to be anything other than a Poole victory. Darren Tarr now motoring way ahead of Scott Ward. In third place, it's still Steve Kibble and Lee Hayter at the rear, so as long as Darren doesn't make any mistakes, and he doesn't, he crosses the line, it's a wonderful Poole victory, and I'm sure his father will be pleased, and of course Darren will be pleased. He's scored 18 points here this afternoon for Poole, and has certainly played the captain's role. So congratulations to Darren Tarr and Poole. And I'm sure celebrations will be going on the way back on the coach for the Poole riders. So let's give you the full confirmation of the result of heat number 18.